Hello, my name's Mark Yao. I'm the inventor of StomaToGo. And this video is not really about StomaToGo itself, uh, but has a message that I think is important, regardless of whether you use StomaToGo or are interested in purchasing it or not. And yes, I am as old as I look. I'm over 70 years old. I've had an ileostomy for 8 years now. Um, I had ulcerative colitis for over 30 years, and it got really bad and had to have emergency surgery to remove my colon. Uh, my wife, when I first started thinking about StomaToGo was sort of an idea I had on November 27th. I woke up in the middle of the night and I sort of had this idea for StomaToGo. I didn't have any compelling reason to do it. I'm pretty comfortable with changing my appliance, but this idea came to me about how to design StomaToGo, and then different, over the next few weeks, new ideas came in and stuff like that. I am a software developer, project manager. I've never done I'm not an engineer. Uh, but I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to try to design this product. I have to buy a 3D printer. I'll need to learn CAD software and some engineering stuff to make sure that I do it right. And she thought I was nuts. She was like, why would you want to do that at 70 years old? I can't give her a good answer other than the fact that I can remember back whenever I first became a Christian. I read a biography about a gentleman that was involved, very instrumental in a great spiritual awakening in England in the 1700s, late 1700s, and then in America as well during 1700s, named George Whitefield. And I can remember a story about him from that book where he was traveling. He was a traveling preacher, went from church to church. Of course, he was on horseback, rain, snow, sick, I had all kinds of issues and stuff. And some of his friends were asking him why he continued to do that. He was getting older and had health conditions. And I can remember in the book he told him, he said, I would rather burn out than rust out. And that's sort of my philosophy on life as well. I still work part-time, and as long as I can, I will continue to do so because it's mentally challenging, it's socially rewarding, and so I'll continue to do that. But anyway, I had the idea for StomaToGo. So I thought, I'll buy a 3D printer. I don't know anything about 3D printing, and I will have to learn some CAD software. And so I did. I got started on it, and the ideas changed, and the final product is not what it looked like when I first started. In fact, I went through a lot of prototyping, and I would hit points where it was sort of like, that doesn't really work very well. And I would have the thought, maybe I ought to just quit this. But then it's sort of like, no, I'm going to continue until I can see that I've succeeded. And I showed my grandkids, I had a garbage bag full of all these prototypes that I'd tried, and took them downstairs. And after we talked about it, I hadn't talked to anybody about StomaToGo other than my wife until I had it pretty much done. Then I showed him this bag full of old prototypes that were worthless. And I told him, I said, you want to know what this is? They said, what? I said, this is what success looks like. Success is just the last thing after your last failure. And so you can't give up. So if you've failed, it means you're trying. I have learned more from my failures than I ever have from my easy successes. I've had multiple failures. Some of them cost some pretty good money over time. But the message that I would like to give people is don't let your failures get you down. Learn from them. You can learn more from your failures, and you can have some hope even in the midst of failure. And so that, to me, is the reason to try to continue to contribute to society, try to have a positive effect. I don't need to be doing StomaToGo personally, but I want to. and I think it's a good product. I use it myself. I don't know if it'll work for everybody, and if not, then obviously you shouldn't purchase it. But anyway, the message I would like to give people is just don't give up hope. Don't, your last failure is just one step towards your success. Now, I know it's hard, and there are circumstances where you may end in failure. I have. And you have to just lick your wounds, learn your lessons, and then go on to the next one. So anyway, that's just a message. It doesn't have anything to do with StomaToGo itself, but just a life lesson. And I wish you well, whether or not you use StomaToGo or not. Thank you for listening. Bye.